South African-born and internationally acclaimed fashion designer has done it again by getting into a collaborative deal with a major fashion brand. Thebe Magugu, who is known for winning the 2019 LVHM Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton Prize for Emerging Talent, making him the first African designer to be awarded at just the age of 26. The Kimberley-born star, whose designs have since graced the runways of all the world's fashion weeks you can think of, has since seen his garments adorn the bodies of international stars such as Rihanna, Issa Rae, Kylie Jenner and Miley Cyrus, to name a few. This year, in his newest collaboration with Adidas, Thebe Magugu has created a collection that includes apparel for a variety of sports, including running, swimming, training, tennis, football and cycling. Together with the artist Phathu Nembilwi, Magugu created garments which were inspired by her mother, aunt and grandmother. The collection serves as a vehicle for Magugu to honor his history and the woman in his life. He joins us now to tell us more about this. Thebe, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us in our studios.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to us about the collaboration, because I think as consumers we're at the tail end of this entire journey. We only get to finally, purchase these pieces and appreciate them. But talk to us about the inception of it, the background story that we never really get as consumers. Yeah.
So Adidas actually approached me, funny enough, at the height of the pandemic. I think when the world was very bogged down, and we weren't in a good place. So when they approached me with creating this collection, I wanted whatever we create to be quite joyful and optimistic and look to like a near future where we'll all be together again. And I wanted that to be reflected in the prints that we do in the collection. So I collaborated with my longtime collaborator, Phathu Nembilwi, to create essentially this illustration of a woman dancing, which is something we couldn't do at the time, but those themes of joy and optimism I felt like needed to be reflected in the collection, which we then made the headlining print in the capsule offering.
Now you talk about it being a long life sort of dream to work with your friend. I mean, talk to us about that collaboration. What is it about your friend's sort of artistic touch and creativity that you felt absolutely had to be involved in this collection?
So I work with quite a few collaborators. I'm of the belief that, more minds are better than one. And with Phathu's case in particular, I've always been so attracted to her vision of women. It's so celebratory, especially in these times in SA where, you hear of all these instances of GBV and really ugly things happening to women. And she sort of puts women at the forefront, and I've always really deeply respected her own respect for women and what she sort of presents them, how she presents them.
Because that's so important, representation, how women are portrayed in the narratives that we put out there publicly about women is so key to overturning some of the sort of patriarchal storylines that we still hold dear with regards to women. But I read somewhere that the designs also have been influenced by your mother, your aunt and your grandmother, and I love the use of the word influence because we of course live in the age and the era of influencers. A lot of them are young and hip and up and coming individuals, so it's always very interesting to note that people are still drawing influence and inspiration from elders and lives that have been lived, but a long time ago.
I think I have my family to thank for what my brand is today. I look at my grandmother, who was a nurse and went to church every Sunday. So like she wore a lot of pinafore dresses, a lot of shirt dresses and a lot of pleated skirts, which are garments that are quite prevalent in my own collection. And then my aunt, who's the youngest in the family, was more punky in her style and used to wear a lot of really tight knits and short skirts, and that's also in my collections as well. So I feel like the Thebe Magugu brand is almost like an amalgamation really of all those women that I grew up around. And I'm especially grateful to my mom, who I told at a very young age that I wanted to go into fashion, and I'm really proud of her for also allowing me to do it, because I think the concern with a lot of parents when their children tell them that they want to do something in the creative disciplines, especially fashion, that tends to be discouraged. But my mother was really adamant that I should then go into fashion. I actually remember one of her first gifts when I was very young was this huge flip file, and she told me if I wanted to be a fashion designer, I had to sketch every day.
Wow.
You know, so the influence was quite monumental.
Yeah. So in a way, you're paying homage to them as well.
Always.
So something that I actually just thought of now, with this collection that obviously has to do with a variety of sports, I think a lot of, consumers never think about the challenges that you as a creative sometimes have to deal with. You are often, associated with certain kinds of fashion designs. Now, it has to be limited to, sporting apparel. Did that present you with any challenges? Did you come across any sort of like limitations on your creativity in that, in that work? Yeah,
it was an interesting challenge, but I will say there are already synergies that I believe Adidas and I share, this idea of inclusivity, and it's certainly represented in the collection that we did. When we were at the very beginning of the design process, we shared ideas and we're saying this collection has to represent quite a few people. People have to be able to see themselves in it. That's why, one of the key points is the fact that it goes from extra small to 4 extra large. Or, parts of the swimwear collection have this. We designed a sort of swimwear hijab in a lot of ways for modest women. Creating a very ultra fine eco fabric that's chlorine resistant. So I think there were already synergies. I didn't see it as a challenge. In fact, I think I learned quite a bit in that process. I think both teams did, on Adidas' side and my side. Yeah.
I mean, I think as South Africans, we celebrate your brand and what you've been able to build with Thebe Magugu. Hearing about this collaboration just further affirms a lot of the sort of aspirations and hopes that people have around your brand. Does that become crippling at some point? I mean, does that become overwhelming for you to know that not only are you flying the flag high and all of that, but there are a lot of young, budding fashion designers that are looking up to you and, see themselves following in your footsteps as well? Yeah.
I tend not to think about it as a crippling pressure. Yes, I think there is a responsibility in a lot of ways, which I think I do with the brand. I think I want to showcase South Africa as truthfully as I can from my own memories. And that sort of nostalgia that comes through. I think when I created the brand, it was found on this idea that I wanted it to be like an almost encyclopedic in a way, like showcasing people, key moments from our culture and presenting that as honestly as possible. I feel like when you do that, you give other people sort of hope to be proud of where they're from, instead of trying to create a luxury brand that's so removed from its roots. In fact, I like taking all my own memories and experiences and sort of moving them, recontextualizing them, moving them into a luxury space, if that makes sense. So, I hope people, when they look at the brand, they can almost see themselves and their own history in it as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Thebe, for joining us in our studios today and taking us through your creative process, and looking forward to seeing some of those pieces in local stores.
Thanks.
That's international fashion designer Thebe Magugu joining us in our studios.